How will Saquon, Barkley, and Derrick Henry impact the future of the running back market? We're breaking that down and more today on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Scouting with the Draft Dudes, your daily podcast for NFL and college football scouting. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's better than this? It's guys being dudes here on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast. We're the Draft Dudes. I'm Joe Marino from Locked On Bills. He's Kyle Krabs from Locked On Dolphins, and we are your NFL experts here with you daily to talk team building across the league on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast with the Draft Dudes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to issue a big thank you, shout out, and welcome to our everydayers. Those of you who never miss a single episode, we appreciate y'all being here very, very much. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code LockedOnNFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5.
Joe, happy Victory Friday to the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. And the college football playoff semifinals are set. Do you have a pick? Who do you think is going to win? It's Ohio State versus Texas.
Ohio State looks good, right?
Ohio State smoked Oregon in the rematch.
I played some other team a few weeks ago. I watched a little bit of Tennessee. Yeah, bad. Yeah, it looks like Ohio State.
Will Howard's put on his big boy pants here and said, "Okay, we're playing for keeps now. So I'm gonna shoot the ball down the field to these NFL wide receivers I got to throw to, including the best player you've watched in college football all year."
Kyle, I texted you about this guy twice. Four for Ohio State is good.
Yeah, true freshman. Yeah, you got to wait 2 years on that
one.
Well, and I know you don't like watching guys early, so
yeah.
Sadly, you're going to have to continue to wait.
Yep.
And then Penn State versus Notre Dame.
Oh, man, somebody has to win that game, huh? Somebody has to win like a big high-leverage game.
Either Penn State or Notre Dame is going to play in the college football playoff.
Against the winner of Ohio State and Texas?
Yeah.
Texas can kick all the rocks in the world.
Should have lost that game.
I still can't reconcile it.
Over.
So we're getting Ohio State versus, I don't know. Penn State's got a good quarterback. I got the better quarterback, right? I'll go with Penn State.
I'm going to go Notre Dame.
Okay.
And that's a perfect segue into our first take of the day on our weekly fan mailbag, which is if I was an NFL franchise and I could hire any coach out of college football to be the coach of my football team, I'm hiring Marcus Freeman. That's my take.
Seems like a good take. What about this guy at Arizona State, Kenny Dillingham? People like this guy, right?
I think it's a little early to know where Kenny's at.
Yeah.
But he gets the college football landscape, obviously, and obviously had an upset bid, and they were a 4th and 13 away from knocking off Texas. And I think that's the funny thing, Joe. All 4 teams that had buys lost.
Yeah. It's weird, right? I think they got the whole thing wrong with how they structured it, right?
Correct. I think so too. But buys are going to exist. So that's the fascinating piece of it is with a 12-team playoff, somebody's going to get buys. And you can talk about who deserved to get the buys and who didn't. But nevertheless, the 4 teams that had to wait and had the layoffs all lost.
Yeah, it's like almost like the teams that didn't get the bye, they were at home field advantage against a significantly lesser team. It was like a preseason game.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Now they got a chance to play
tune-up game to go in.
To a neutral site game against some team that's been sitting around for a month.
Right.
Yeah. How long we locked into this? There's going to be changes.
Make some changes, please.
Yeah,
start tinkering now. Let's adjust on the fly. But yeah, Marcus Freeman. I mean, they got a really. If you get a chance, and I know it's busy time of year, check out some of the stuff they do on special teams.
Notre Dame.
They got special teams wrinkles every week. They had it was a 4th and 2. And they were backed up inside their own 15-yard line. Joe, they had the punt team out, and they ran the entire offense out on the field with like 20 seconds left on the play clock and forced Georgia to substitute everybody in and then hard counted them and forced them to jump off sides for a first down.
No, that's going to be the Belichick stuff next year in North Carolina.
Yeah, they're going to do all that kinds of stuff.
Yeah,
like Marcus Freeman's doing that as like a young – just gets it. As far as like culture and program building, like he's so impressive. I hope he gets his fill of college football soon, so that he'd be entertaining.
Well, I'm sure the NFL will have a lot of interest in him because I just the candidates are not that appealing to me when you start thinking about like the coordinators and stuff. So
I think he'd be a top 5 candidate for vacancies this year with this cycle, with the names that are being talked about as like in the consideration to be head coaches.
All right. It's time for takes on takes.
That was take on take.
Well, it's your take, but the listeners submit takes and we give takes on their takes. The first one from Andy, who says the success of Saquon, Barkley, and Derrick Henry signings for 2 teams that were already contenders will cause an overcorrection in the valuing in running backs, both in current contract value and draft value. Let me say this, just to kind of set the table. The interesting thing is your only expiring contract, your only meaningful expiring contract this offseason at running back, I think, is Najee Harris. And that's debatable how like primed he is to get a bunch of money. But what you do have is a crop of young backs in Kyron Williams, Breece Hall, James Cook, and Ken Walker that are extension eligible after their 3rd seasons. And so I'm kind of wondering, okay, when we think overcorrection, like where's the crop of players where this could happen? And I think it would be those players, but those are good players. Those are not Saquon, Barkley, and Derrick Henry. So I guess the challenge here is what running backs are people pointing to that didn't get paid? And the NFL still drafts running backs in the first round all the time. What do you think the impact here is?
I don't think it is. I think those players went to teams that had a lot of the other stuff in place and made the decision to give out a top of market contract that in reality is a very low end contract in the grand scheme of top of market contracts.
Right.
Still a cheap decision relative. But I don't think it's a coincidence that Derrick Henry has success as the final piece in Baltimore, and Saquon Barkley has success as the final piece in Philadelphia, and Josh Jacobs has success to a lesser degree, but still a successful season, despite coming off of an underwhelming season in Las Vegas in which they had nothing offensively.
Yeah.
So I think Ashton Genty's going to go in the first round no matter what. Do I think he goes top 5? No. As you're seeing how this class is coming into frame and the draft order and the needs, I'd expect he's probably going to go in the teens. It's kind of where I expect Ashton Genty to get his name called. So I don't think, like, if you're going to overcorrect there, and also I think you probably need a bigger sample size of this happening before you can really get into overcorrection in the league attacking it, right?
How would we define it? Like, if James Cook signs a $15 million a year extension, would that be a signal that this has been an overcorrection?
I think you have to have that happen year over year over year. And then if he gets 15 and then Kyron Williams gets 15 and a half from the Rams the following year, then I think you could start to get into that.
Yeah. A lot to learn. I don't know that much is going to change. Weekly Huddle says the recent trend of quarterback redemption stories like Baker, Darnold, Geno, etc., due to them getting more time to learn the game before being put on the clock for their job, proves that every quarterback needs to sit when first drafted, with only the rare exceptions.
No, I think it proves that we have way too short a leash for just about everybody. But I'd still have value in playing and learning through mistakes.
Yeah, I think this is an issue that's not really about quarterbacks as it is organizations staying committed to a philosophy to give it enough time to actually play out. And it's, and not everyone's going to catch lightning in a bottle. And I think the lesson that's learned here is that organizations need to be more patient and do a better job of supporting the quarterbacks that they invest in.
So is that a trend?
Are owners going to stop getting trigger happy firing everyone after 3 seasons?
No, that's not what I'm saying. There's some positions where teams kind of have the school of thought is we're going to let other teams figure out who's good and who's not, right? And then or develop that talent. Is quarterback a spot, if you're in the limbo, you'll see less of the middle ground or drafting a QB4 in the first round or a QB4 in picks 33 through 40, and instead say, is this more of a death of the middle class of draft quarterbacks in favor of taking a shot on Zach Wilson, taking a shot on Trey Lance, on taking a shot on Drew Lock? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and Kyle, I think this aligns with something I used to say all the time, where you're going to know exactly as soon as I say this, you're going to be like, yeah, Joe says that a lot. The number one overall pick has never been required to get your answer at quarterback, right? Like there was a point in time in the NFL where like the best quarterbacks were Tom Brady, a 6th-round pick, Aaron Rodgers, who was like picked in the 20s, Drew Brees, who was a 2nd-round pick, Phillip Rivers, right, was like not even it was like the pick swap or whatever. Ben Roethlisberger was like the 3rd quarterback drafted. It's like this has never been required, and the thought process that I always had with that was, well, the reason that's the case is because the people are in better situations. They're not going to these horrible teams that are picking at the top of the draft. And so I think it further leans into, is it a matter of these players all failing enough to finally figure it out, or did they finally get somewhere that had enough infrastructure that gives them a chance to be good?
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully that's
probably some of both.
Yeah. Okay, we got tons to get to, folks. Be sure to stick with us. It's playoff time, and if you're like me, you want to make the most of these final weeks of football action. That's where Prize Picks comes in. If you love football and want a chance to win real money while watching the games, Prize Picks is the place for you. It's the best way to turn your sports opinions into cash with daily fantasy player projections. With Prize Picks, you simply pick more or less on player stats like total passing yards or rushing touchdowns for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your money. You can make your picks in less than 60 seconds. Whether you're looking for a flex play to boost your payout or want to cash out quickly, Prize Picks has got you covered. And with over 10 million members and billions in winnings, it's clear that people are loving this platform. I've been playing for a while now, and I'm having a blast. It's so easy to use, and I love how fast the payouts are. Seriously, I've gotten paid out in as little as 15 minutes when my picks hit. Plus, the weekly promos like Taco Tuesday discounts add even more value to my lineups. Here's a special offer for Locked On listeners. Download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. What do you want your 2025 story to be? Every January brings a new chapter, 365 blank pages waiting for you to fill. If there's a part of your life you want to rewrite or a plot twist you've been craving, why wait? Life isn't about fleeting resolutions. It's about taking control and becoming the author of your own story. Think of therapy as your personal editor, helping you craft the life you deserve. It's not just for crisis situations. Therapy can help you develop healthier coping strategies, improve your relationships, and empower you to be the best version of yourself. Whether you're facing a challenge or just looking for personal growth, therapy is a powerful tool to help you guide yourself through the journey. Whether it's learning how to set boundaries or tackling stress in new ways, therapy can help you develop skills for a better tomorrow. Even if you've never tried therapy, the benefits are clear. Finding someone to talk to and gaining fresh perspectives can make all the difference in navigating life's ups and downs. Write your story with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOn today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOn.
I've thought.
Okay.
And I saw somebody say this the other day, and it's just putting a bow on everything that we just talked about before the break. It's not where you pick, it's who you pick. It's pretty good, right?
That's good. Yeah.
Can we start? Can that be one of the tags for the show now?
Yeah, I like it.
It's a little cleaner than the number one pick has never been required to get your answer at quarter. You know, it just rolls off the tongue a little bit better.
Hear you.
It's not where you pick, it's who you pick.
I like it. Dig it.
That's why, unless you're a team that's like really, really bad, or like New England, who has like a high leverage opportunity with the number one overall pick, root for your team to win this weekend, right? Like maybe not the quarterback hungry team, but if you're like the Saints, you want to win this weekend. If you're the Panthers, you want to win this weekend, right?
That's actually a great segue into a take from Chase.
There you go.
I had queued up for later, but we'll go ahead and elevate it up the list.
Did what again?
Chase says that it's not. I'm so sorry. It's not from Chase. It's from Carl.
Wow.
Carl says, Carl. Chase, we'll get to you later. Carl, fan bases that root for losses when eliminated from postseason contention is sad and honestly disgusting. I don't care what the stakes of the game are. Play to win. This is coming from a Jets fan where after October games mean nothing.
Carl, this is from Carl?
Carl.
Carl, I hope we can get on the same page and you can root for the Jets to lose this weekend. I think there are very specific team dynamics in which it makes sense to lose a game. Me as a fan, I'm never mad about a loss though, or mad about a win. You can want teams to make change, but teams can also, for Miami fans, a lot of Miami fans that don't like the current trajectory of the team were mad that they went 6-2 in this stretch and got back to 500 because it's like we wanted the bottom to fall out so that they'd fire everybody. And in the same way that you don't need the first overall pick to get your answer at a spot, like you don't need to lose a bunch of games to have an honest conversation about like the faults of your football team.
Yeah.
Right. And assess what needs to be different. I know the courage is a little bit more sturdy when things are really, really bad to make some like heavy hitting changes. But yeah, I can put myself back in 2019 when Miami was in their tank season. And like, I remember being at the airport. I think I was with you. And the Dolphins beat the Colts. I was pumped.
Yeah.
I was like, let's go.
The Bills lost the Browns that day. Yeah. Remember that.
So I don't know about disgusting, but like I could never put myself in the shoes of like,
yeah,
man, I really hope we lose every game we play the rest of the year.
I've been in that situation as well for many years in a row, and I never could do it either. I could never root for the Bills to lose. I will say this though, the Bills were always like just kind of bad, like 6-10, 7-9.
Mm-hmm.
So I've never been in that position where it's like, oh my gosh, if they lose this game, they get the number 1 overall pick, and it means this player. Like, I think that's a spot I've not been in, but I still don't know if I could sit there and be like, man, I really hope that my team doesn't have more points at the end of the game than the opponent. So Dolphins Craze says it's important for players like Jeremiah Smith. That's 4 from Ohio State. I learned his name. And Roydell Williams to stay in college for 3 years before being drafted. The NFL is much harder, and it's important to develop physically and mentally before becoming a pro. Also, they can make money right now, so even less reason to want to leave. Doesn't this feel like the Leonard Fournette conversation? Didn't everybody say, like, after he played 1 game in college football, just sit forever and go to the NFL? Like, what? Yeah.
Develop yourself, develop your craft. No matter how good you are, there's going to be a point in time where you're going to run into an equal or bigger fish, and you want to make sure you're well equipped for those opportunities. So, yes.
Yeah, I hope those conversations like are just completely over with. Carter with one that I haven't considered, but this is interesting. He says the Atlanta Falcons should absolutely move on from Terry Fontenot. The team has not had a winning season in 4 years under him. He has hit on very few draft picks, and he has put the team right back into an undesirable cap situation.
All right. So let's start with the Kirk Cousins saga. Not great to pay $90 million for a quarterback to start 13 games for you. And
yeah,
I get it, because
and they've made their choices before as well, sometimes not making a choice.
Mm-hmm. So Fontenot took over in 2021. Is that correct?
And this is his 4th season. I think that's right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah.
We are going to formally, 2021 took over as the general manager. You ready to do the thing? We're going to do top 100 picks for the Falcons.
All right.
Okay. Under Terry Fontenot. Kyle Pitts, Richie Grant, Jalen Mayfield.
Oof.
That was first draft class. Drake London, Arnold Ebiketie, Troy Anderson, Desmond Ridder, D'Angelo Malone.
Okay.
Bijan Robinson, Matthew Bergeron, Zach
He's
Harrison.
A starter, yeah. Zach Harrison was the other one?
Zach Harrison at 75, yes. Michael Penix, Rook Ororho.
Yeah, I don't love that.
Braylon Trice.
I don't know. Is this fireable? There's not a whole lot of good here. I think it's worth having the conversation.
Almost no good other than, like, congrats, you hit top 10 picks in Drake London and Bijan Robinson out of the park.
Yeah, those aren't.
And now you have a potential quarterback that you're tied to.
I think the seat should be heating up.
I think I agree with this.
Gone. Get him out of here.
Look, Drew Dahlman and Taquan Graham on day 3 in the first draft. Okay. Tyler Algier in the 5th round. Okay. Clark Phillips. Okay. I don't know. That's a lot of volume to not have a lot to show for. And then you put the quarterback conversation on top of it, and then you talk about the cash spending, and I think I'm down with this.
He's not been able to figure out quarterback and pass rush, which are probably like the 2 most important things to figure out.
And he inherited the offensive line.
It's true. He really did. All right.
I think
there it is.
There you go.
Next one. This one's spicy. Michael says in this draft class, only one player would have been a top 10 pick last year, and that's Travis Hunter. So last year's top 10 was Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Marvin Harrison, Joe Alt, Malik Neighbors, J.C. Latham, Michael Penix, Roma Dunze, J.J. McCarthy. There might be a place for Mason Graham there, right? You probably bump Latham. Latham's not a universal top 10 tackle, right?
Yeah.
Penix was kind of a surprise top 10 pick too.
Mm-hmm. He's just still gone because they had that opportunity though.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't know. Well, that was QB what? 4?
Yeah, 4. McCarthy 5 and Nix was 6.
And I know there was varying degrees on Penix, but I think you can maybe get into the conversation of like, would QB1 be QB4? And I know like everybody's rankings of that are a little different. Like I know you were super high on JJ McCarthy, for example. And I actually like Bo Nix quite a bit. So like my rankings would not have reflected the way that they would have, but I would have to stack them and see how both Cam Ward and Shadur Sanders, who are closely graded for me, like they'd probably be in the same tier as some of those other quarterbacks. So maybe a different quarterback would have been a good fit for one of those teams picking in that stretch too.
Well, Latham feels like the guy you'd bump, right? Travis Hunter goes top 10, and who's the player you would, from this year's class, who's the player that you would find a spot for that's not Travis Hunter? Will Johnson's kind of
Will Johnson's up there too.
Yeah, the corners fell, right? Like Terrion Arnold and Quinyon Mitchell, like they were.
I can't believe Quinyon fell into
there's no words. There's no words. That wasn't hard.
No.
Fun question there. More fun.
Press at Toledo. Like, okay, cool. Look at him now.
Was there any skill that, like, there was anything about his physical profile that made you think he couldn't play press? Yeah. All right, more to get to here. Pro Bowl snubs in particular. Be sure to stick with us. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. And FanDuel has so many ways for you to pick up a dub. I love betting on which players will hit the over on stat projections, if a team will cover the spread, and building parlays. It's thrilling. Not only can you bet on who will win the game, but FanDuel has bets for which players will score a touchdown, how many points each team will score, and so much more. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Sean says Brian Thomas Jr. not being a Pro Bowler and Zay Flowers being a Pro Bowler is egregious.
Yeah.
Thomas has played every game and is going to finish with 1,200 plus yards and double-digit touchdowns. Only 3 rookies have ever done that: Randy Moss, OBJ, and Jamar Chase. Plus, Thomas has had Mac Jones at quarterback since week 13 and not an MVP-level quarterback in Lamar Jackson.
Yes.
This is the ultimate snub this year, in my opinion. There's other ones for sure. Yeah. This one's crazy.
Yeah.
Got a whole.
There's nothing much to say here. I mean, I can't believe that this was an end result.
Even a Ravens fan that I got into it with on Twitter yesterday and called him. I called him piss brain. He said, "Yeah, I agree with you that Thomas should have made it in over Flowers. Like, it's not defensible."
Can I give you another take? Can I give you another take?
Sure.
I came with some takes today. This comes courtesy of the 33rd team. And they have detailed Geno Smith's incentives on the line for week 18. Are you aware of just how much Geno Smith has to play for?
I'm not aware.
Geno Smith has more to play for than any other individual player in the NFL this season in week 18. He has $6 million in incentives on the line.
What does he got to do?
He gets $2 million for a 10-win season.
Got to win.
He has $2 million for 4,282 or more passing yards. He currently has 4,097. So he needs less than 100 or less than 200.
Okay, we can do that.
And he gets another $2 million for completing 69.7% of his passes for the season, and he currently sits at 70.2%.
So it's right there for him.
That's right. Geno Smith has more to play for than any other individual player in week 18, despite the Seahawks status of being eliminated from the postseason. $6 million.
It's a healthy amount of coin there, Kyle. Okay, the next one. Now I got to get choosy here. Don't
make me the bad guy here.
I'm not making you the bad guy, but
I got to be a choosy because
the consequence of your insertion into the conversation has taken away from the listeners. Chase, we'll get to Chase because I said him earlier. The Cowboys will offer to bring McCarthy back under the rule that he has to give up play calling. Mike says no. Jerry brings in Jason Witten as the head coach.
No.
This is galaxy brain right here, huh?
Too crazy. It's too crazy for me. Spike the ball if it happens, but no, I can't.
Don't you feel like people fall into this pretty regularly where it's like you champion all these like legends of your team to suddenly have like front office roles or head coaching roles, and like it just doesn't really happen.
And most of the time when it does, it doesn't go particularly well either.
Kyle, I've been waiting for Jim Kelly to be the head coach of the Buffalo Bills from about 1999 until about 2017.
I had Dan Marino in an formal executive role as like the president of football operations for like 36 hours before he turned around and was like, nope.
Yeah, that was weird, right? I forgot about that.
Yeah.
He's still around all the time. I think I read something about Dan Marino lately where he was just like, he can't quit it. Like he just wants to be around it. He said if he could play, he could, but like, I mean, even that guy that wants it doesn't. Yeah.
I had somebody last year try to say, I guess it was 2 years ago, say that Chris Shula should be the Dolphins' hire for head coach when they
simply because of a relationship that
because he's Don Shula's grandson. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like my dad was a really amazing carpenter that could build anything and remodel anything.
Hey, you want to come up and build me a deck?
Kyle, do you want me to come up and build you a deck?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Yeah. Me touching anything like that.
Lay a couple 2x4s flat on the ground out back.
Brother, I can carry anything you need. Won't build anything. All right, let's finish on this one. It's an interesting conversation. Aiden says Oregon versus Ohio State was a reminder that for a college football team to build a true contender, they need to do it through high school recruiting and not the portal. Yes, the portal is important and can take a team to the college football playoff, but to win it, you need your own grown talent and a deep roster.
I don't know.
So if I can ask a question, because I'm 100% not in the weeds with all of this. Isn't the danger of leaning into like you're going to recruit and develop? Is that even a thing? Don't these guys just leave? Like how do you keep these guys around? Like,
right.
So isn't that kind of the flaw in that idea? Or does it happen?
If they don't get playing time, they will leave and go somewhere else. So it's kind of a necessary evil of like the top, unless you're going to bring in a bunch of freshmen and play them as freshmen and let them work through that for 2 years and then put cherries on top. And every 4 years, you're going to have a cyclical opportunity and shot. The players have so much say in it because they have the fluidity and they're not really contractually obligated. So it's a little different than building a team from a draft perspective and saying, oh, we draft you, so we retain your rights for 4 years. And
yeah.
we use free agency to complement that. It is much more of an annual year-over-year thing.
I'll say maybe the quiet part out loud, and maybe people will hate me for saying this, but Oregon's also not Ohio State.
Oh boy, Brentley Weissman is going to text me.
Yeah,
but
I'm not wrong about it. I'm not wrong about that. Oregon's just not Ohio State. So the players that Ohio State bring in and retain, it's a different ballgame. Tomatoes are being thrown at me, but that's fine.
We're going to leave it there. I ain't touching that. That's going to do it for us this week. Kyle Krabs, Joe Marino, we appreciate you guys, as always, for checking out the show. Make it a great rest of your day. Hey, if your team's playing their last game of the season, enjoy it. Root for a win. Be happy with your results. If your team's eliminated from the postseason, we've either done your Levy Grails or we're going to do them next week for reasons for you to be optimistic. And best of luck to all of those teams whose playoff fates await in Week 18. I'm Kyle Krabs, Joe Marino. We will talk to you all again on Monday to react to the news coming out of the final week of the 2024 NFL season.